and they worshipped the dragon. The people paid homage to the dragon. They were obeisant towards the devil, Satan, because the dragon is the one who gave authority to the wild animal. And they worshipped the wild animal, saying, "Who is similar to the wild animal, and who is able to war against it? What person or spirit has the ability, the capability to battle against it, against the wild animal to whom the dragon gave authority, ability, etc.?" Now, even though these questions are uttered as a form of honor and worship by those who worship the wild animal and will not war against it, the true answer is provided in Revelation chapter 17, verses 7 through 14, and we'll look at that a little later, and again in chapter 19, verses 11 through 21. So again we mention that the reign of the wild animal, the beast, is the last 3.5 years, which corresponds to Revelation chapter 13, verses 1 to 3. Now, during the last 3.5 years prior to Christ coming back on earth again, this wild animal will continue to look as though it were a human being. We should note the Bible does not call it a human being, because it's not a human being. It's a wild animal. So this wild animal will continue to look as though it were a human being, promoting itself as a great political leader. But in fact, it will be the product of the devil, Satan, taking the place of the human being who will be the seventh head, who will rise to power during the first 3.5 years and will be killed. This wild animal will seem to be a resurrected man, but will be similar to the genetically deformed evil beings referred to in Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 7, and in Jude chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. Let's continue with verse 5 of Revelation chapter 13. And I should note that in my book that I'm reading from, True Bible Study, Revelation of Jesus Christ, Word Translation and Study, which is available from my website, truebiblestudy.com. There are many references and other items in detail giving information regarding this. Of course, during this video session, I will not be reading everything, but I am reading the main points here. So continuing in verse 5 of Revelation chapter 13, it says that, "And the wild animal," so John writes, "and the wild animal was given a mouth, speaking of great things, things making a big effect, a large impact." And what else was he speaking? Blasphemies. And also it was given authority, as verses 2 and 4 we looked at, to perform its actions for 42 months. You know, 42 months are that 3.5 year period of time. And the wild animal opened its mouth into, or with a view to, blasphemies. Towards whom? Towards God, the only true God, including to blaspheme his name, speaking evilly of God's name, treating God with lack of reverential respect. And of course, God's name is everything that God represents and stands for. God's distinguishing and distinctive characteristics, his constitution, his quality, his workings. So the wild animal opened its mouth into blasphemies towards God, including to blaspheme his name and his tent, referring to God's covering or sheltered structure, including the ones tenting in heaven, as though they were pitching or spreading their tent, their tabernacle, temporarily dwelling in a covered, sheltered area within the sphere of action of heaven. Now, at that future time that we're reading about, these ones will include all of the present-day holy people, the Christians, who will have already been gathered together with the Lord Jesus Christ away from the earth into heaven, and we will have received our new spiritual bodies. And it was given to the wild animal to cause a battle with the holy people, to war against those who are sanctified. Remember, he's on earth, so he's going to war with the people who are sanctified on earth at that time. Of course, that's not referring to the holy people, because we will have been taken up into heaven before this occurs. So it was given to the wild animal to cause a battle with the holy people and to gain the victory over them, to conquer them. We read briefly about this in Revelation chapter 11, verse 7, where we saw that the two witnesses for God and for the Lord Jesus Christ were killed. And authority, that word authoritative power or permitted right, was given to the wild animal on or over every tribe and people and tongue, no matter what language people were speaking, and nation, every ethnic group. And all the people dwelling down on the earth at this time will worship him. Wow. So here we see that it uses the pronoun him, not it. Why? Because it's drawing attention to the fact that those people that will be worshipping the wild animal will be looking or viewing the wild animal as though it were human. They will pay homage to him as a human being. They'll be obeisant towards the wild animal, whose name was not written and continues not written in the book of the life of the small or little lamb. The little lamb, of course, refers figuratively to the Lord Jesus Christ, who is updating and keeping the living spiritual record of names pertaining to God's realm. So it is noteworthy that these are not written in the book of the life of the little or the small lamb, emphatically and specifically the little lamb having been slaughtered. Yes, Jesus Christ was killed from the throwing down of the world, from the time that the ordered arrangement that God had created was cast down. And of course that word to cast down or throw down is as though you were throwing a stone aimed at something in particular. Here it refers to the time when the world was placed in the situation that it is continuing in today. Now this throwing down that we're talking about occurred immediately after God promised the Christ back in Genesis chapter 3 and in verse 15.